Dylan,
Matt.
this is a monumental episode for me.
This is a big one for you. Listen, as I'm watching this, not to reveal what everything is, but I will tell you there were multiple moments where, like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, and this is an Endgame reference, I'm like, on your left. Like,
yeah.
Like every time a new crew would show up, I'm like, on your left.
Yeah.
Like this would, if I saw this at the time it came out, I was not alive, but if I saw this when it came out, I would have shit my pants the moment some of these characters showed up.
Yes. So this is a special that is very like, so I actually pulled a quote from IMDb's trivia actually. So we're talking about the Muppets Family Christmas Special, which is my favorite televised Christmas special of all time.
A special that is not thought of when I say, hey, we're going to cover the Muppets Christmas.
No.
Like, this is not the one that people think of.
No.
At all.
So from IMDb trivia, it says, though this special may seem easily found online, it's actually quite the opposite. The original television airing had numerous scenes and songs that had been removed from the U.S. video release due to the rights of the characters and franchises being dispersed amongst so many different companies. The Muppets are no longer share affiliation with Sesame Street and the Fraggles, and then the Fraggles lay dormant. Therefore, this special cannot air on television without obtaining licensing, and home video releases have been heavily altered to avoid any legal disputes. In other countries, the original uncut version can be found, but it is still incredibly rare and has been seen sold upwards to $100 to a couple $100 on online auction.
But in the
year 2023,
if you have access to YouTube, you have access to a Muppet Family Christmas.
You have an access to this, and it's pretty much the full version. There's like one scene that may not be. I watched the bootleg DVD that I bought. Well, it's not even a bootleg. I bought a DVD from Europe years ago, and then had to burn it to a disc because it was a different region. So I couldn't watch it on my DVD player, but I could convert it's a long thing. It's not important. But I don't know if the
nerdy.
Did the YouTube version that you watched, did that have a scene where Fozzie and his mom are talking about hanging up a Christmas stocking and he's too old for it?
I didn't remember that. Like, that's literally, as I went through
everything
after
that got
I
cut,
watched
that's the only scene that that's
the only one I didn't have.
Which is weird because that has nothing to do with licensing or character stuff. So it's like, I don't know why that's like, the one that they got rid of.
Listen, we don't need more Fozzie and Emily Bear.
So here's what I'll say about this special, why it's so important to me. And there's a couple reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, there's the personal reason. I've talked about this before. I had an aunt who taped me every Christmas special that aired in 1987. 1987, an incredible year for TV Christmas specials that aired that year. And this was like a weird comfort tape that I would watch all year round as a kid. And this brought me a lot of joy. And as people who I loved in my life passed away, this became more and more of a safety blanket for me. But I genuinely believe this does everything that a good Christmas special should be. It is laugh out loud funny at parts, and it is also just overwhelmingly sugary sweet and wholesome at other parts. And then, as you've said, on top of it, it's literally every single piece of the entire Jim Henson empire in one thing. And like, spoiler alert, a part of this special that makes me cry every time I see it is at the very end when Jim Henson makes a very rare on-screen cameo and he looks at them and he looks at Sprocket and he says, it looks like they're having a good time. Good. I like it when they have a good time. And that hits me so hard every single time because this was, by all intents and purposes, the last true Muppet special that he was involved in. Like, after this, they did like some promotional videos for Disney and like he did like the Muppet Vision 3D. But this was like the last true.
Which is so good.
It's so good. This was the last true Jim Henson produced Muppet special. And like for it to end with him saying I like it when they have a good time just feels so eerie in retrospect, and it's beautiful. Everything about this
it's almost
is
like
beautiful.
he's like
Aware,
letting those characters go.
Yes.
Like he's like that's what it really feels like. I like it when they have a good time. Like they're okay.
Yeah.
I'm safe to walk away from this situation.
I wrote 2.5
getting
pages.
Chills.
Dylan, I wrote 2 pages of notes on this 40-minute special.
I love it.
Yeah. So the setup is simple enough. Fozzie has decided that him and the entire Muppet Show gang are going to surprise his mom by showing up at her house on Christmas Eve.
And she has booked a Malibu trip.
Yeah, she's booked a trip to Malibu and has rented the house out to Doc and Sprocket from Fraggle Rock. And then basically the whole special is...
To which I didn't know they were from Fraggle Rock.
Okay.
Like my Fraggle Rock knowledge, not incredible. Like I'm familiar with the puppets in Fraggle Rock. Like I'm familiar with the Fraggles themselves. Was not familiar with these two characters.
Okay, fair enough. It leads to a great joke when they first show up where Doc looks at Sprocket and he goes... Are these like those Fraggles you keep telling me about? And the dog does like a kind of thing with his hand.
Like that was the only thing, and I was like, oh, I guess they might just know the Fraggles. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when that was mentioned.
But
Fraggle
throughout,
Rock, like sorry, that's just not something I've watched a lot.
No, that's fine. Throughout the rest of the special, the main plot points are that Piggy is not at the house yet. And Kermit's getting
Fucking
increasingly more worried that she's not there.
Absolutely wild that she is not there.
And then throughout the special, everyone from Sesame Street shows up. They find a Fraggle hole in the basement and visit all the Fraggles from Fraggle Rock. But it's got that, like, I've said before that the Muppets are at their peak when it is like old school 1930s vaudeville humor. So stuff like the reoccurring joke of the icy patch right out front of the door that everyone slips on. One of the early lines that makes me laugh, I actually think one of the runaway characters in this episode is Animal. Animal shows up with 4 incredible lines throughout. And the first big one is Doc is complaining and he says something like, I was expecting to have a nice, quiet Christmas by myself. And then Animal just runs in and goes, peace on earth, give me presents. And like...
Just Animal being Animal, man.
And then the phone rings and he picks up and goes, presents, 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 presents. And then it's Piggy and he goes, oh, pig. And then throws the phone.
It is mind-blowing.
And heartbreaking.
How many original scripts are written every year but are never made?
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper.
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free.
Piggy is stuck out in a storm, and Kermit is just following his nephew. Like, let's go hang out with these fucking Fraggles that you talk about, bro.
Dude, the Piggy
like,
stuff is so funny to me, though.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Her doing the photo shoot and the photographer. I wrote down all of the photographer's lines while she's talking on the phone as he goes, oh, yeah, couldn't be nicer. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Now do that pouty face. Do the pouty face. Oh, fabulous. Like, it's so fucking funny. And then she calls because it's Piggy's fault she's not there. She keeps doing more things. So then she's shopping and she's buying green fuzzy flipper slippers for Kermit. And then the last time you see her, she's trying to push the car out of the snow.
Yeah.
And she says,
okay, floor it.
Yeah, when I yell 3, gun it. It's so good.
I still can't get over the fact that, like, Kermit sends Doc out to find this old fucking man.
Oh, and that's a great line, too. He says, I'll go find her for you. And he goes, oh, that'd be great. And he's like, so tell me about her. And he goes, well, to start, she's a pig.
She's a pig.
He goes, well, until a short while ago, I would have found that quite strange. The dialogue in this is so good.
And even, like, listen, I absolutely, I think my favorite moment in this episode or this special is when Big Bird is called in by the Swedish chef.
Yeah.
And Big Bird is turning around and the Swedish chef is standing behind him with a fucking mallet. He didn't just fucking end his life.
That scene. So I wrote this down. And I said, I've always found the Big Bird and Swedish Chef duet to be a perfect example of how something can be both super funny and super sweet simultaneously.
Yeah.
Because it is really sweet. Like when Big Bird's just like, I know how hard it must be for you to be away from all your loved ones at Christmas, so I got you a gift. But then like you have that with like Big Bird singing what I think you and I have both agreed is like the Christmas song. Like it's literally called the Christmas song. And for good reason. It is the song that we think of when we think of like everything we love about Christmas. And to have that broken up by like Big Bird singing in his childlike way and then the Swedish Chef, like the part that kills me is when Big Bird goes, I've done this impression many a time, so I'll do it here. But he goes, Merry Christmas.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. And
It's so funny. I think my favorite line of dialogue is all the Sesame Street people show up and they bump into Doc and he goes, hi, my name's Doc. And they're like, Doc, did you know Doc starts with the letter D?
Yeah.
He goes, yes. He goes, and yes starts with the letter Y. He goes, true. And he goes, true. That starts with the letter T. And he's like, what is happening here? And they go, where we come from, this is considered small talk.
Yeah, Bert was like, this is small talk where we come from. I fucking love it. It's because it is such a big juxtaposition between like Sesame Street, which was focused on learning, like it was focused on teaching young kids. And that comes up again with the count. I love when he's like, one frog. And
he goes, there's one where he
there's another one. And he goes, two frogs.
It's just, but at the core, what I love about this special, and Kermit has this conversation with Robin, this special's about like finding your own family in your friendships.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they're all coming together and like watching the transition of like Doc when they first show up and his annoyance to his absolute love and admiration. Like he says, he agrees to look for Piggy because he says to Kermit, he's like, I wanted a quiet Christmas alone, but this is so much better. Like the idea of like, why would I not want to be surrounded by people at this like beautiful time of the year? Like it's so sweet.
We haven't mentioned that. So we've talked about the Sesame Street cameos. We've talked about the Fraggle Rock stuff. We haven't talked about the Muppet Babies.
Yeah, the Muppet Babies.
The Muppet
show
Babies as actual Muppets.
Yep.
Like I was expecting, because I've never seen this before. I anticipated when that thing came down that we were going to get animated versions of the Muppet Babies.
So
but no,
Muppet
we get
Babies.
full-blown Muppets.
So there's a reason for that too. Is that Muppet Babies was actually a spin-off of a segment from Muppets Take Manhattan where it shows them as babies. So they're reusing the puppets from the Muppets Take Manhattan movie in this moment.
Okay.
But so cute. Like Piggy with her tiny little
adorable.
Kermit doll. And then Gonzo, who's always like right up there with Kermit for one of my favorite, is watching the tape and he just goes, what a handsome little devil I was. Like,
or Animal like popping up and ruining like the babies and then popping up and ripping this what was probably a couple $100 screen.
Oh my God, it's so funny. There's another good joke actually with Doc where when Ralph first shows up, him and Sprocket start barking at each other and he says, don't you hate when you can't speak the language? And like it's so funny because Sprocket is like a genuine dog bark noise that they're using. And then Ralph is just going, woof, woof, bark, bark.
Woof, woof, bark, bark. We are also glancing over the horny turkey.
Yeah, no, I was about to get there. That turkey. So the turkey's big thing is that he says, a guy invited me over here, real nice, like, had a big chef's hat on. And Gonzo's trying to like be like, hey, you gotta hide out.
You need to get the hell out of here.
Like this is a terrible place for you to be. But then Gonzo kind of cares a little bit less when he catches him hitting on Camilla. And the line that he says is like he keeps tricking the Swedish Chef into thinking everything is a turkey but him. And he says, hey, this is starting to be fun. And then Camilla walks in and goes, hey, speaking about fun, hey, baby mama, how you doing?
Every time he sees her, he's like, you want to go out back and have a little fun? I'm like,
There's
Jesus
literally
Christ.
a line where he says we could go back outside for some squeaking and squawking.
Yup, squeaking and squawking. That's what it was.
And then
Goddamn.
and then when he finally is cornered by Swedish Chef, he of course tries to convince Swedish Chef that like he's a pretty decent sized turkey, but have you seen this fucking big ass bird that just walked into this house? And the way Swedish Chef just throws his pan to the side because he's so excited at the possibility. Something else that I wrote down: Electric Mayhem's version of Jingle Bell Rock fucking rips.
Rules.
And like the mice in the front dancing to it, like doing like 50 swing dancing is like such a nice little touch. And that scene, more than most of the scenes in this, I'm watching it thinking like, God, they had to have had like 12 puppeteers to make this work. Because you've got someone puppeteering every member of the Electric Mayhem. You've got the mice dancing in the back, but then there's also puppet heads on the couch watching that are bopping along. So that had to have been probably one of the biggest all hands on deck moments in the whole special. Like it's a really impressive and well-made thing. I had to bring up that the Sesame Street caroling moment is really special to me. Like when they reveal themselves, and it's super funny that Elmo is here, but like this is before Elmo was a breakout character. No, Elmo,
he never has really a moment.
He doesn't have a line or anything. He was just a monster. He was a random red monster because he shows up in the caroling scene, and he shows up in the other part that I fucking love in this special, which is the Sesame Street's version of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," where Grover coming out as a mouse with a bowl and a spoon so he can show that he is in fact not stirring the bowl. Like such a dumb joke. And then one of the like low-key best characters in the Muppets is Sam the Eagle, like the overly patriotic American.
Is nothing sacred.
Dude, when the two-headed monster comes out
as Santa, oh my God, dude, the two-headed monster as Santa is hysterical. It is amazing.
And then, you know, I think the biggest thing about this for me is at the end of the day, I think that this works in every single way. The fact that it ends with almost 10 minutes of the Muppets just singing Christmas carols
songs.
that's what seals it for me. That is probably my favorite moment in any Christmas special in history. Like it is so sweet. It's so kind. It's so gentle. It's like everything that the Muppets are supposed to represent of like pure chaos that at its core is just so beautiful and wholesome and lovely. And they end with a song, or it's close to the end of the song. They sing this song called We'll Be Together at Christmas, which is from a previous Jim Henson Christmas special called The Christmas Toy. Yeah. That is also equally fairly hard to find.
I don't know if I'm familiar with The Christmas Toy.
It's not a Muppets thing as much as it's just a Jim Henson produced thing. Oh
shit, I have seen this. I have this on VHS tape when I was a kid.
The reason why so many people think that it's hard to find is that they think Disney kind of tried to bury it because it tells the tale of a kid's favorite toy who on Christmas Eve has to try to stay the top toy and not be taken over by the new toys that come that year. And the new toy happens to be a spaceman who doesn't realize it's a toy.
Is that real? Like, really?
Yeah, really.
I do. I remember seeing this as a kid. Like, I've seen all of these puppets before. I remember watching.
Well, they did
VHS.
a spin-off show afterwards called The Secret Life of Toys that used to play on the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. But it is. I watched it this morning afterwards, and I was like, "Yep, this is Toy Story. This is the plot of Toy Story through and through." And then the last factoid I wrote down: TV Guide ranked this special at number 6 on its 10 best family holiday specials list. Furthermore, on the coverage of the special for AV Club, they stated that The Muppets Family Christmas is a love letter to the Muppets as a wide-ranging and meaningful part of a viewer's childhood. He further praised the special's emphasis on family and that the Muppet characters are there over just a bunch of cheap celebrity cameos.
I can get
I
behind that.
I
May I
love
ask
this.
what number 1 was on that list?
I didn't bother to look.
Okay.
I'm sure it's something like the Charlie Brown Christmas special or something like that.
that's right.
I would imagine. Dylan, I
You're
obviously
like, fuck this list.
yeah. God damn it, no. But Dylan, obviously, I have a lot of emotional attachment to this. This is a very important special to me, and I've watched it a million times. This was your first time viewing, and
First time watching it.
I gotta ask: could you see this making its way into a regular rotation? Maybe not yearly, but like a rewatch.
Yeah, that's where it is. I think this will be maybe an every other year watch for me. I think that the other Muppets Christmas related things will play a lot more for me, as they have always, because this is the very first time I've watched this. I've always heard about this one. It's always been described to me as like it's a little harder to find because of rights issues and whatnot. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I don't think it'll be a yearly watch for me. I do, however, want to say that I absolutely love when we talk about something that you are genuinely passionate about, because I love hearing you just gush over the different things that you enjoy.
I mean, Muppets are... I always joke around. It's the one thing I haven't monetized into a podcast yet. like that is like the one thing that I'm like, nope, this is just for me.
I was gonna say we can. I mean, I'd be down to watch some Muppets.
I've come up with a way to do it. I'm just not ready to pull that trigger on something that's so important to me.
I do think that. Listen, our big like grand finale, you and I, we get a bunch of people together and we just decide like, okay, this is the last year for Christmas 365. We're gonna close out. We're gonna do our last live streaming, and what we do is you and I and a bunch of our friends do the Muppets Christmas Carol, and we sing the songs and everything for it. How fun would that be?
We're all just, I'm
and
down.
We can all sing together. Like, we don't have to do them solos. Like, we can just sing it together if we want to. If anybody's like, oh, I don't want to sing. Like, I think that would be so much fun.
Yep. Nope. That's so much locked fun. And loaded. Even if that's not our final year, I think that might be next year's live stream plan.
Let's fucking do it.
I would do it. That would have to be the final part of the holiday live stream.
Oh yeah,
like that's
like it is a 90 minute to 2 hour adventure. It's extravaganza.
And obviously, we're including When Love Is Gone.
Yeah, for sure. No, we don't cut shit out.
Dude, cutting that shit out was we'll get into it when we cover that movie, but the Disney decision that song was too boring to keep in the movie is one of the dumbest calls in Disney history. From the same studio that was smart enough to almost cut Part of Your World from Little Mermaid came the decision to cut When Love Is Gone.
That's absolutely wild that was even considered.
Yeah, they were like, this is too slow and boring and boys won't like it. Like, that was their reasoning for wanting to cut it. Dude, Disney sucks sometimes. A lot of the time, actually. Most of the time, they're on the sucky side.
Most of my Christmas watches will be on Disney Plus, but most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, same, but that's because they monopolized the industry and bought every goddamn studio.
God, it's so crazy, like, how many Christmas things come from Disney Plus right now because of the monopoly that
they got
built.
Well,
absolutely insane.
Dylan, you are my favorite Muppet in my family Christmas.
Oh, you're my favorite Fraggle in my family Christmas.
Pass it on.
Whoa, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Happy holly, have a great holly, have a merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.